We're here at the Oxfordshire Guitar Show for the first time for us and the first time for them, which is going to be awesome. There's plenty of people in there showing off some amazing gear, loads of passion about their work, guitars, pedals, all sorts to see. So I guess we just get stuck in. Let's do it. Here with Guy at Winyard Guitars, and could I ask, what is your unique selling point that you think's the wow factor of your guitars?
Whilst I'm inspired by some of the Fender designs, I've made something called a stealth cast, which is where you can have a clean looking one pickup guitar, which actually has additional pickups and additional tonal options available to you right under your fingers, so you can get some very distinct different tones out of a single guitar. Plus, having the one pickup, I think it looks pretty damn cool.
Can we use this guitar as an example whilst we talk, right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
How did you come up with the idea? And I know it's an aesthetic thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is, which sounds quite simplistic. It's just because I wanted it to look like that. But people need more than one tone out of a guitar usually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Fender did do something like this about 20 years ago, but they didn't get the pickup balance right at all. So it wasn't usable in a live situation.
Yeah.
So I worked with bare knuckle over quite a couple of years now to get a few flavors of pickups, which we can use, so that when you're switching between them, you don't get an imbalance and a different change in the output. So, because if you did have a change in output, you wouldn't be able to use it live at all. Be all right for the studio. So we've got a couple of flavors of pickups. They'll go with single coils, P90s, and I've done a few with humbuckers in the bridge. Yeah. So you get a real range of tones out of a single guitar.
This one's a cool example. I don't know if we should talk about this.
Yeah, so this one's got it's got P90 in the bridge and a couple of Strat single coils underneath.
So this could be any combination in a way in this style. That could be a humbucker paired with, you could put a P90 there.
You can. Certainly what goes under here needs a little bit of careful working out.
Yeah.
And that means that putting, real high power pickups in the bridge is a bit of a no-no. But then you've got so much gain elsewhere, pedals and amps, that if you use a low to mid output pickup here, you're still getting all that clarity.
Yes, hell yes.
And that's the P90, so it's got a bit more grit going on as well. So
I'm a big fan.
Rocks nicely, that one.
Yeah. And this switch.
It's right. A clever little switch. So we've got two pickups under here and a third. So it's a bit like a Strat, and you got the 5 positions. But this is from a company called Freeway. And if we switch it like that, you've got another 5 positions. So you've actually got 10 tonal options, all of which give you a different flavor of wiring. So that's the P90, a bridge on its own. That's the bridge in the middle in humbucking mode for something a bit fatter. That's all 3 pickups in series, which if we roll it off sounds absolutely delightful. And you get loads of other options, from just the neck on its own, the middle pickup on its own, bridge on its own. So there are sort of 3 or 4 hugely distinct tones you can get from a single guitar.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you're on a cover band or something, it's ideal. And you can still have a humbucker, or humbucker that in for rock, and then single coils that in for the stratty stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you turned up to a gig and you had some other guitarists watching you, like you tend to do when you have a gig, and they saw just one pickup, they're going to be like, this guy's not going to have much tone options. But then, so I like the blend.
It's a one-trick pony, but
right,
it's a 10-trick pony, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm with Medusa Guitars with Pete. It's good to meet you, man. Can you please tell us a unique point that you think about your guitars? That's a bit of a wow point that makes you stand out.
Oh, yeah, then I'll grab one.
Let's do it.
So 1 point, all the neck joints, 5 screw.
Okay.
That's unique to us as well. A little detail there. Allows a bit more access. Obviously looks a little bit snake-like too. So
Yeah.
And then obviously the neck, what you'll find with a lot of Fenders and other brands,
Yeah.
it's all tapered in. So the neck actually starts getting thicker from about the 13th fret.
Right. Yeah.
And then down here from like the end of the 1st, maybe the beginning of the 2nd fret. Whereas I try and keep it flat,
like
you know what I mean? So it's straight all the way through the whole plane surface.
Okay.
As far as you can get in.
Nice.
All
Beautiful.
straight. They're all handmade in Birmingham by me. Finished, sanded, carved, cut. Everything's done by hand. Little workshop in the end of my garden.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And that's it, yeah.
What's your name, mate?
Robin.
Robin. Yeah, Robin. And Manton Guitars.
That's my full name, yes.
Ah, sweet. how else are you going to name your guitars, I guess. Yeah, it's cool. So I was stood where Andrew stood there before, and you were talking about some of these woods.
Yes, this one here.
Was
I?
Yeah,
this one is all native UK woods.
This is it.
This is oak on the top on this one.
Nice.
And then on the back, we've got spalted alder, which is got this really nice kind of spalting going through right the way through it, and you can see on the end grain it's really nice patterns there.
Yeah, just a bit.
And then this is the oak neck as well, so 3-piece oak neck. So it's laminated to give it extra strength and stability. That's why it's a 3-piece rather than just a one. Helps keep them stable. And then on the fretboard of this is a really rare, unusual wood, which is also native grown over here, called hornbeam. So there's not many people using that. It's very difficult to get hold of.
Right.
So it's a super hard wood. It's like basically as hard as ebony, but obviously this colour instead. And it gets the name because it kind of has the appearance of cow horn. So it has the similar texture as well. So it does look a bit like cow horn if you look at it.
Yeah.
And then we've got the offset position markers on this. So perhaps you see them wherever you're playing.
Yeah. We're with Dave for Ancoats Guitars, and he's come all the way from lovely Manchester, indeed. So this is really cool. So we had a quick chat before, didn't we? And we kind of got into all sorts of things. Where to start, really? I mean, we could talk a bit about the editor that you were introducing us to. I think that's a place to start.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so we've just released the new guitar builder, online guitar builder. So it's basically, instead of speaking to me and asking me what do I do, you can now go online and choose all your different guitar shapes that I do. New Islington, the Granada, the NQ. And then within that, you can use left or right, no extra charge for left-handed. Different pickguard configurations. If you want a hollow body, you can have that. Different sort of German carves. So I do love a German carve.
What is a German carve?
So it's this little sort of like a little indent around the edge.
Oh, wow.
It just like gives a sort of a framing of the guitar body, I think. It just adds a sort of a vintage vibe to it.
Yeah.
You get them on quite sort of old sort of vintage guitars. Different body woods, then of course all the different coloured paints that I offer as standard. If you don't see something here, you can just contact me and we can sort something out. Different scale lengths that I offer. And necks, full roast maple, flamed roast maple.
Lovely.
Painted headstock. I mean, you can quite quickly get together a really quite unique, cool looking guitar. Like
Peanuts for the win.
Let's have a mini humbucker. Let's have some gold foil humbucker in the bridge.
Can I ask what gold foil is about?
Historically, the gold foil pickups were a certain type of pickup, but nowadays they're just any sort of pickup that's got a gold covering on it.
Right.
So that's a gold foil humbucker, basically.
Yeah.
It's more for aesthetics than anything.
All right.
But they do look really cool.
Yeah, they do.
So it's definitely worth having. And then let's put a vibrato on there. Oh, let's go. I don't really like that tortoise with that colour.
Yeah.
Let's go for cream. Yeah, that's more like it. And then there we go. It spits out, and there you go.
Lovely stuff.
And then you can either send that directly to me, or you can pay for, order it, or you can send to me if you want some extra customizations and things like that.
Brilliant.
So it's hopefully, I've only just released it yesterday. So I'm really hoping that this is going to sort of like change my whole sort of like process of getting orders in and then building stuff. Yeah, and emailing and stuff. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier for the customer to sort of see what I do and what I offer as standard anyway.
Here with Gary at Leddington Guitars. You can see the fretboard.
That's ebony on this one, and it's a kind of very traditional looking fretboard. It's very uniform in colour, which is sort of what the sort of standard of what people expect of ebony is. And then these two fingerboards over here.
This is what I was hoping for, because
it's also ebony, but it's what's known as it's what I call leopard spot ebony, which you can see is exactly the same on this one here as well. So it's the same wood. It's kind of very rarely patterned piece of ebony. You do get discolored bits of ebony, streaking and stuff in there, but very, very rarely do you get this kind of spotting effect, this dappled effect, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, which a massive company might want to avoid, because it's a bit...
Yeah, well, so...
Do you know what I'm saying?
This one in particular, because of the dappling, I think would be quite sought after. In fact, it's not a cheap piece of wood, honestly, because it's quite rare.
Exactly, right.
You do get ebony which has streaking in, and often what happens is certain companies will stain the wood to make it uniform and dark like that. That's not stain.
Yeah.
That's natural ebony. But some companies will stain the ebony to get rid of that streaking, which I think is a shame. And the thing is, it's because of like overforesting and over harvesting it's getting more and more the case that ebony is uneven in color and grain, just because like the really dark black stuff just doesn't really exist in the numbers that it used to. So I think kind of showing the natural coloration of the wood speaks to that sort of mindfulness towards the ecology of it too.
I also wanted to ask you primarily as well, what to look for in a budget acoustic guitar, and then what to look for in a high-end guitar, if you could answer that question.
And that's kind of a difficult one. I mean, I think that one of the differences with a high-end guitar is the sort of the fit and the finish. You'll get like much cleaner lines on between the fingerboard and on the headstock when it comes to like the lacquer, especially on the neck joint there as well. I think high-end guitars usually they don't have. Basically, they're finished with the neck and the body apart, and that means that when it gets sprayed, the join isn't sprayed over. And if at any point the guitar needs a bit of work, which it might do, the neck might need to come off, for example. And if you spray it over that join there, it's going to make it really, really difficult, very expensive, and just basically more time consuming to repair and fix. So that's one of the sort of fit and finish, I think, is the difference between the sort of lower end or budget and high end. And also setup as well, making sure that it's playable. Oftentimes, like my guitars come out fully set up from the workshop, but like budget guitars will often come out. They'll have the action set up really, really high, and
on purpose. What's the or is it design flaw?
I mean, I'd like to say that it's on purpose, so that it might be that they leave a kind of buffer for players to sort of dial in their preferences. I expect it's actually probably corner code. So checking the setup and having that done properly, if you buy a budget guitar, will make a budget guitar kind of much better sounding and feeling than perhaps it does when it first comes out of the factory.
Right. Okay. A question that's been going around quite a lot is just like the use of woods. Obviously, it has to come at some point. And is there anything that you particularly like working with?
Yeah. So I use my general bass wood is Carina. I like that for sort of mid-weight.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got a lovely open grain on it, which I like to show through the paintwork. I don't sort of like fill the grain in. So I think it makes the guitar more tactile. And I use a very sort of like light satin water-based coat finish.
I can see
so
that.
it will the finish will sort of wear through. But then as you wear through, because the green is sort of honey-coloured, it's nice to see that underneath it.
Beautiful. I need to actually have this help, but when you get closer.
Yeah. And then another wood I use is Swamp Ash. That's the upgrade to Swamp Ash. Does love Swamp Ash. Got that lovely fat open grain, and it's so tactile. It just feels great.
Absolutely.
So it's Carina and Swamp Ash mainly. And then for the next, roast maple. I prefer, but you can have roast maple, normal maple.
All the options.
Maple,
We are here with Andy from Funny Little Boxes, and we were really excited to visit this particular stall because we got some awesome pedals. So my main question really has been, what inspired you to do the kind of band album inspiration of the sound? I know that might be difficult because it's quite unique, I think. So
less an inspiration and more a drunken challenge.
Right.
I became friends with Matt Webster from the Let's Play All YouTube channel, who I work with on all my pedals. And essentially, after being friends for a while, there was a night where he sent me a drunken text saying, "Do you reckon you know someone who could sort a pedal that sounds like the 10 album for its 30th anniversary coming up?"
Right.
And I said, "Yeah, me,
yeah." I found myself
foolish, really, really silly, and then found myself in a position where I had to somehow pull it off. But fortunately, still know lots of lovely people, particularly Simon Andrews of JSA Effects and Mark Dunbury of Sound Ad Liverpool, who could basically help me out with this ridiculous challenge that I had agreed to, and with a couple of other guys involved, a guy called John Stewart who did the artwork, and Rich Tompkins who designed the original knobs for the different knobs to what they were, the ones that are on this picture. They were a custom job. He designed them. So with them on board, we kind of found ourselves in this sort of, I don't know, weird frenzy of just being really enthusiastic about getting this thing together with no real thought of it being anything more than something fun that we did.
Yeah, like a passion project that was not,
Yeah, and it just kind of went mental overnight.
Okay.
And within a week, we had a waiting list of 1,500 people for it.
Well,
And so I just went to my boss and said, I quit and I'm going to do this now. And I've been really, really lucky that I've been able to do that since then. So that would have been September 2021. And so it was, no inspiration. It was a drunken challenge and I came out really well.
The best story yet, I think. That's really cool, man. Right, okay, so does are these albums like Alice in Chains, Queens of the Stone Age, are these are your favorite types of music, and does it inform what you choose to make? Like even Supergrass, is it your
so in terms of so the Pearl Jam thing was obviously a thing put forward by Matt, as that was a thing that, you know, basically he had an audience for that would love it, and definitely did. And then it was kind of like, well, look, that was a success, and we fell into this niche of doing pedals inspired by bands. So the Dirt was the Alice in Chains one was actually meant to be the follow-up to the 1991. And I worked on it with Mark Dunbury from SoundLoud Liverpool again, and kind of we used it as a way of him basically teaching me all his tricks, all his knowledge.
when it comes to pedal
I
makers?
was a complete hopeless, well, I still am an amateur that got a passionate amateur that got lucky, whereas he's an actual professional who knows what he's doing. So we had this, and we made this incredible sounding but ridiculously complex pedal.
Right.
And then unfortunately I got ill and I had to take a few months off, and so that became not a priority at all. And then when I came back to work and got this breadboard with 16 knobs and all this I'm just not able to find my arse from my elbow with it, and then saying it to Mark, and he was like, I don't really know how to go back, and basically just shelved it. And I just kind of the skeleton key kind of got born out of my frustration with not being able to do the Dirt, and it just kind of came as a bit of a bolt from the blue, and I took it round to Matt, and it was kind of let's run with this. And I'm not going to say that Queens of the Stone Age are like a band I particularly love. I think their first album's great.
It's the sound, isn't it? It's
I
the
don't
sound.
really like them beyond. If I'm not a passionate fan, if one of those songs comes on, I'll nod my head. But I'm not a massive Queens of the Stone Age fan, but I do really like their sound, and so was happy to. Alice in Chains, I do really, really love. But if I'm perfectly honest, out of the 4 pedals here, if there's one that, has a kind of real deep-seated emotional thing with me, it is of all the Supergrass one. I grew up in Oxfordshire, so they are local heroes to me, and they're
Is that where they're from? Right.
they're from Oxford, yeah.
No, no.
So hence why I brought it here.
Here we go.
But so it's not. Unfortunately, with these things, there has to be that kind of what's going to sell element. And, arguably, you could say after 3 big hitting American influence pedals that Supergrass is a really fucking weird angle set, which it is.
But you're expanding the cap. You're expanding it.
And also the thing, like all these things, they do a lot more beyond their initial brief. So the Supergrass, it does Led Zeppelin really well. It does In Utero era Nirvana brilliantly. And, you could say a bit from a business point of view, it would have been far better to market it as a Nirvana themed pedal. And it would have sold loads.
And that's what we saw at the Oxfordshire Guitar Show. It was genuinely such an amazing day, full of passionate people who were telling stories about the builds that they're building and guitar pedals, and just really pushing all this gear into new realms. It was really awesome. Here's 3 things though that I learned from that day that I'd just like to quickly share with you. The first thing that stood out to me was just how much people's personal experiences can lead their way into like a guitar build or even a guitar pedal, an amp or anything like that. And it just goes to show that your unique vision can really amount to something extraordinary. Second was just how beautiful UK woods are, and it was really, really cool for me personally just to see all these amazing woods and builders really being conscious about that kind of thing as well. I think that is really, really nice to see, as well as also just seeing some beautiful guitars. Finally, one of the coolest things was just having really, really genuine chats with people and trying to absorb as much knowledge about so many things, whether it's about building, whether it's about the type of guitar that you want to play, just anything like that. There's so much to learn, and it's really, really cool just like making some friends and just having a great day. So ultimately, can't wait to go back to the Oxfordshire Guitar Show next year and hopefully see some of these new friends, and hopefully we'll see them on the road because we've got Brighton Guitar Show coming up. I'll be there with Andy and it'll be really, really fun. We'll be filming similar content and really just, again, nerding out on some gear and playing, and it's going to be really fun. So hopefully we'll see you down there.